Has your business been affected by COVID-19? The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is available to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The VI SBDC is sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration and collaborates with local agencies to support the small business community. The VI SBDC is nationally accredited and provides free consulting, business education training, and technical assistance. Attend workshops with subject matter experts from both the public and private sector. From idea generation to exit strategies, the staff at the VI SBDC is ready to assist you. Now is the time to contact them, so don't wait. Call or email them to find out how they can help your business grow and succeed.
Good morning and welcome to the VIS BDC Webinar Tuesdays with SBA. We have collaborated to bring you this series of webinars to help USVI small business owners further connect and benefit from what the SBA Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands District Office have to offer. Just a friendly reminder to put your questions in the chat and they will be addressed during a presentation or after the presentation, okay? And our presenter today is Wayne Huddleston. He's the Senior Area Manager for the Virgin Islands Post of Duty. I will allow him to give you a little bit more information about himself. Wayne, the floor is yours.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mary Jo. Yes, my name is Wayne Huddleston. I'm the Senior Area Manager for the U.S. Small Business Administration here in the Virgin Islands. I'm joined by my colleague, Lisa Chamblier-Acqui. She is on St. Thomas, I'm on St. Croix, and we are here to help make sure that SBA programs are deployed effectively down here. So part of that is to make sure we do some regular outreach and training on various aspects of SBA programs that are available to assist small business owners. So I want to say thank you to the SBDC, which is our technical resource partner here in the territory, for offering these weekly sessions, allowing us to provide information on different topics. This week, similar to every other week, we are going to be discussing a topic, but we're always going to leave plenty of time to answer any questions at the end. So if you have any questions related to this topic or anything with regards to SBA or SBA programs, please feel free to ask those at the end. And if you want to type your question into chat in the beginning, you can do that. We'll be sure to answer it at the end. Today's presentation is about the dynamic small business search and how to use that to help you effectively market your business to federal agencies if you wish to participate in federal government contracting. So the first thing I want to do is just explain what the dynamic small business search is. A dynamic small business search, DS or small business, let's see where we call it, dynamic small business search is a database that is put together by the U.S. Small Business Administration, which is populated by information entered into SAM, the System for Award Management. So anyone who is wishing to do business with the federal government must register in SAM. This is SAM's webpage here. Hopefully everyone who's a business owner attending has already registered their business in SAM. If not, you can go to SAM. There's a lot of information on there on how to get started, how to start your registration, how to renew your entity if you haven't renewed it in a while, update your information, and get any questions you have answered on that. I'm not going to go into detail on SAM in this presentation. I will say, though, if you have any questions regarding SAM, or the information that you're putting in there, or certifications and others that are in SAM, please contact the Federal Service Desk. So if you go to the SAM.Gov main website, you can click on Federal Service Desk here, and it takes you to that site and that portal. You can ask emails, but they also have a phone number you can call that is staffed by people to answer your questions. It's a great place to get any questions you have about SAM answered in there. SAM is not a SBA database. And so while we have general knowledge and can provide some general guidance on how to get started with SAM, you really should go through the source and go directly to SAM.Gov or enlist the help of the Federal Service Desk to help you with that. But that's SAM. And as I mentioned, everything in a dynamic small business search is populated by the data business owners input into SAM. So the first thing you want to know is how to find the dynamic small business search. It is a kind of a long URL that you can see up here on this screen. So rather than trying to write that down or remember it, the easiest way to find it is just go to Google, type in dynamic small business search, and the first link typically that comes up is the right one. You'll know it's the right one because it ends in SBA.gov. So if this link comes up, you just click on it and you will be immediately taken to this front page. Now this is where it is now an SBA site, and everything that you will need with the dynamic small business search can be found there. So this is the landing page that you'll land upon. There's a lot of writing here on how to use the site and different things you can do. I'm not going to read all this to you. You can read it on your own, but I'm going to go through a lot of the most common and simple searches that you'll want to use for the dynamic small business search. So again, this is your landing page. You have several icons, I guess, that can help you up here. You can print the screen exit. If you're on a cell phone, you can switch to a mobile friendly view. And then there's these right here. If you're just trying to do a quick search for businesses in your area, you can click the quick market search. And it doesn't have to be for your area. It may be an area outside of Virgin Islands that you're interested in. But all this is basically doing is this is taking just a couple of fields from the primary search page and just taking those two fields and putting them in here. And so it's just narrowing your search to those two fields and saying, you can say, all right, I can put in the NAICS code for the industry I'm interested in, and then I can put in the state or territory or zip code that I'm interested in looking at. And that'll give you just a very quick market data search. But I'm going to go through how to use the DSBS tool in its entirety. So really from this landing page, the first thing you want to do is click this DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search tool, and that'll take you through the main page. So here, instead of having just those two fields, we have all the fields that you can modify to do a search. Now, before I get into it, I want to explain that there are really two primary entities that use the dynamic small business search. The first, and the group that uses it probably the most frequently, are other federal employees, and specifically federal contracting officers in different agencies. So all federal agencies have goals. There is a federal wide goal to provide a certain percentage of contracts to small business owners. And then there's also sub goals to provide a certain percentage to women-owned businesses, hub-zone businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and so forth. Now, each agency, well, they contribute to that goal. They may have their own goals within that. So for instance, the National Guard or US Army or Veterans Administration, while it's a federal-wide goal to provide 3% of your contracting dollars to service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, those entities have higher goals. So they want to provide sometimes 5, 10%, 15%. That really depends on the agency and what goals they've set during that time. But I share that with you to let you know that they have not only responsibility to secure federal contracts for the agency, but to meet goals within those categories, to provide a certain number to women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and others. This is the tool they use to meet a lot of their goals, especially for small businesses. So they, even though they're not with SBA, they may be from the Department of Army. They'll log on to the site because this is an open, publicly accessible database for everyone. And they will use it to identify how they can help achieve their goals. So one of the tricks that contracting officers will typically use to increase their ability to reach their goals in certain categories is to, before they post a opportunity, they will search in the area that the opportunity is available. So let's say I'm a contracting officer and I need to boost the number of women-owned businesses that have that are competing for my contracts. So rather than just post that contract out there to the world and hope that a women-owned business is going to be competitive, I can, and I have the authority to restrict that contract to just women-owned businesses. And so that if you're not certified as a woman-owned business, you wouldn't even be able to bid on that contract. But before I'm allowed to do that, I have to look in the area of performance to assure that there are a reasonable number of women-owned businesses. So if I clicked saying it's required that a woman-owned business certification has to be in place, and let's say this contract, let's just say it's in Florida, and any business in Florida can participate. I want to see how many businesses, how many women-owned businesses are there or certified. I can just click it to that. Well, what I could also do is say it's construction. Let's say it is, I don't have, so we have what are called NAICS codes and others, but if I don't know the NAICS codes for it, because I don't remember what it is for construction, I can just type that. So this is an example what a contracting officer can do, can say, are there women-owned construction firms in Florida? Are there enough of them for me to be able to restrict this to just women-owned businesses? So I can do the search, and within hopefully a few seconds here, it'll come up with a list. But Florida is a pretty large market, so hopefully I didn't pick a too large of an area. Here we go. So in Florida, there are only 22, but in the construction field, but that could be sufficient. So if this contract is eligible to any business in Florida, if I have trouble meeting my women-owned business metric, I can say, okay, great. There are 22 businesses here in Florida that are in this industry. I'm just going to restrict it to those businesses. So that's an example of a way that a contracting officer will use it. They'll also use it to look up businesses, to see how active they are, see what they put into their narrative, and so forth. But today I'm going to focus a little bit more on how you will use it, because that's the other primary audience that uses the dynamic small business search is small business owners themselves. So there are a couple of ways that you want to use this database for your benefit. One is to certainly monitor what your business looks like to federal contracting officers. So if you are here, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on the Virgin Islands now. If you're here in the Virgin Islands and you know that you're registered in SAM, and I'll stick with the same field, we'll do it construction. You're going to want to make sure that your profile comes up. So if, let's say you're a construction firm in the Virgin Islands, I think it's, there we go. For some reason that is not working. Let me see. I may have still not, I may still have a field that I clicked. Oh, I still have women-owned. So there are not women-owned construction firms in the Virgin Islands, but I just took that one off. So let's see how many are here that are not women-owned. Okay, so right now in the Virgin Islands, there are 39 construction firms that are based here in the Virgin Islands. So if I'm a construction firm, I'm going to want to make sure first that on such a simple search, my business comes up. Second, I want to see what it looks like. So if my business comes up and does not have anything in this narrative field, perhaps I want to see, well, it looks like a lot of other businesses do have a little bit more information. I want to make sure that I put something in my capabilities narrative. Or I certainly want to make sure that the information I have there is correct. So you can also click on it. Now, this is the default search results that come out when you do a search in the dynamic small business search. But you can ask for more to come out. So if you want to make sure that it has all your information in there, you can click on it. But the easiest way is once you come up in the dynamic small business search, I'm going to use SF General Maintenance as an example. You can just click them. And if that's your business, you'll get more information on how you are viewed by contracting officers. So you'll want to make sure that all your information is correct, that it's being pulled from the system for award management effectively, that you have the appropriate information on principals, and all this information is correct in here. That if there are certifications that you know you have, you want to make sure that it's there. So right now, this one is not HubZone certified, but it does have an 8. I think it does have an 8A certification, but I need to check on that. But it does list all the NAICS code.
The 8E certification was to the top.
Oh, it was.
Above
Okay.
HubZone.
So it did list it there. Okay. Yes, so it did list it here. So this has been in the 8A certification program since 2013, and it will exit in 23. You'll also notice that this firm, which is located on St. Croix, has multiple NAICS codes. So ideally, when you are building your profile in SAM, you haven't just put the NAICS code of just your primary line of business, but any line of business that you serve. So naturally, with construction firms, there are many other little things that it can do. So it can do, so this one in particular is saying, I can do building construction, but as part of that, we can also do roofing, we can do car washes, we can do landscaping, we offer janitorial services, all these other things. And they do construction, not just for buildings, but for other equipment and all sorts of things. So they have done a really good job of listing all the NAICS codes that they're in, so that if a contracting officer is saying, is narrowing down to a more specific need to say, I just need roofing, or I need something else, that NAICS code is likely to come up if they have it in there. So they have it all in there. They have a very good capabilities narrative as well. So that's primary one. You want to use this dynamic small business search to look at how your business is being viewed by contracting officers. So you want to make sure that your information is accurate, that is completely filled out. You do not want to have these blanks. These blanks do two things. One, they do what, there's something they don't do, which is they don't give contracting officer sufficient information for your business. And two, they also send a message that this business is not as eager to serve federal contracts as these others. So if a contracting or if a business has filled a more thorough capabilities narrative, it sends a message that that business is a little bit more serious, but also it gives really good information to that contracting officer to say, okay, they do, they do professional landscaping, they do these other things, they service residential, commercial, and government agencies. That helps me out. So as a contracting officer, I want to know that they're on the ball with that. So I'm going to back out to again, and well, I'm going to stick on this page. The other way that you can use this as a business owner is not only making sure that your information is correct and up to date for a contracting officer, but you can use it to improve your competitive standing and do some market research in the area. So here in the Virgin Islands, if I'm in a construction field or I'm a new business in a construction field, these are essentially my competitors. Now, if I'm just into roofing or I'm just into landscaping, I can go in and I can go back to the main field, put in my NAICS codes that I have for landscaping, and specifically see the other businesses that are in that field. But I'm going to stick with construction for the purpose of this talk here. So if I'm in construction, I'm doing general construction. Here I have all 39 of my competitors here in the Virgin Islands. Now, if I want to narrow it down to St. Croix or St. Thomas or St. John, I could narrow that down more. But then I also see not just the contact information, but I can see how they're portraying themselves. What are they saying are their capabilities narrative? What is their contact information? This can help in a number of different ways. One, I can use their information to say, okay, well, I'm not gonna plagiarize what they wrote. But I'm gonna use that to write thoughtfully about my business and make sure I'm very thorough in how I present myself. If there are other competitors that have, as I mentioned here with SF General Maintenance, they have an 8A certification. That's a certification that helps them in the process to secure businesses. So then I can say, well, maybe I should be getting an 8A certification, or maybe I should be getting hub zone status. These are all certifications that help in the bidding process for a contract. So you can learn a lot about your competitors. You can get very detailed information about your competitors. But it's also helpful to not look at this as just a way of looking up information about your competitors, but also your prospective partners. So oftentimes in federal contracting, it's very difficult for someone to be either a new business, or even if you're an established business, but you're new to federal contracting and you're new to SAM, and you want to now start taking on federal contracting, it is still very difficult to win those first contracts. Because even though you put your information in SAM, you may even have obtained some certifications, and you have some statuses to your businesses, and maybe you're women-owned, and that makes you attractive to federal contracting officers. At the end of the day, that is just secondary to your ability to perform on the contract. And if a contracting officer has no experience with you, and you have no track record in performing on a federal contract, then contracting officers are still very wary of giving you your first break, because at the end of the day, they are responsible for performance on that contract. So if a business doesn't perform on a contract, well, maybe that business is done for contracting, but that contracting officer is still on the hook, and they must answer to their superiors as to why this federal agency cannot move forward in its work, because the contracting officer did not find someone who thoroughly demonstrated that they are capable of performing on that contract. So as a new business entity, or someone who's trying to get into government contracting, you can view these as some of your partners as well. So you can research these partners and see how many of these are very good and thorough in what they do and explaining themselves. How many of these have hub zone statuses or 8A statuses? How many have a track record of performing on federal contracting? I know personally that SF General Maintenance does have a track record in performing in contracting. So you could just reach out and you can call them and say, look, I am very interested in helping out with businesses or competing with this. Maybe there's a contract that goes out here locally. There's not many federal entities that do direct contracting through federal entities here. A lot of the federal dollars will roll through local VI contracts, but there are opportunities here locally. And I'll click on that page as we wrap up here. But what you can do is you can go to that page. You can see, okay, let's say I think one a couple of years ago was the National Guard base here in St. Croix, needed a new fence built around a certain part of its perimeter. So the contracting officer said, all right, we're going to put this contract out. We're going to bid it locally. And let's say you are a fence provider, you do fencing, you're an expert in that field. SF General Maintenance may be able to contract with you or subcontract with you. So you can reach out to them and say, look, I would like to bid on this contract. I can do it really well. I need your help. I need to partner with you. If you can bid on this contract and have me as your subcontractor, that allows you to get real experience in a federal government contracting role. So if you get some of these, even though maybe you're a subcontractor, after a few of these, then you can go out on your own and say, okay, next time this comes out, I don't need SF General Maintenance. I've shown over several contracts that I have the ability to perform, and you can use that track record to really open the door to federal contracting on your own. And many, I would say the majority of small business owners who are in federal contracting, that's how they entered federal contracting. They, of course, filled out their profile in SAM, were very thorough in their profile, make sure when they come up on a search that they're coming up with a good capabilities narrative. But then they started with subcontracting, and they met some of their peers in their field or people who could work contracts with them. They made those connections, and then that was their door to getting into the federal contracting world. And then they went out on their own and can start securing those contracts on themselves. So I'm going to go through just a few of the fields here. So here, although I'm focusing on the Virgin Islands, the reality is there are not a lot of direct federal contracting opportunities here in the Virgin Islands. So maybe you have the kind of business that can only service here in the Virgin Islands, but many businesses can say, well, I can service contracts in lots of places. I can do it in Puerto Rico, or I can do it in Florida, or perhaps your business is the kind that is online. And if you're online, you can service contracts anywhere. They're not necessarily restricted as the place of performance here in the Virgin Islands. So in that respect, if you can look at different areas, you can just click any state or any territory and it'll pick up, you can put in your industry classification code and it will pull up any federal contract that is available. I'm sorry, it won't pull up. This is not the database that pulls up the contracts. It'll show you the competitors in your field and how you show up to a contracting officer in that field. But you can do it in Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, any state, just Puerto Rico, or you can do it just in the Virgin Islands, or you can do it just by your NAICS code. But let's say you want to, you know that you have a women-owned business certification, or you have 8A or Hub Zone. You can further restrict your search here in that way to see how you show up or how other businesses show up. Now you can have, businesses can have multiple designations. In fact, there are some businesses, I don't know of any in a territory, but I know of businesses I've worked with in the States that met all of these. They were a woman-owned business that had the 8A certification. They were designated, they had their headquarters in a hub zone, and they were designated economically disadvantaged women-owned small business. So they can click all those fields, and that's like, that's gold to a contracting officer. You also see a list of self-certifications. So when you register in SAM, you can self-certify as a service disabled veteran-owned business, all sorts of certifications. And the contracting officers can pull those up as well. So these government certifications are ones that we vet ahead of time. So for example, I'll give you an example of this is women-owned businesses. Prior to October of 2020, any business in SAM that was woman-owned could simply just click in their profile in SAM that I am a woman-owned business, and that would show up under the self-certification status. And so when contracting officers were looking for a woman-owned business, they would just click that and that was fine. However, since vetting was not done ahead of time on that, there were oftentimes businesses that either through ignorance and didn't understand what it meant to be a woman-owned business, or by purposely trying to mislead, they would say, yes, I'm a woman-owned business. And they would come up under that search, but then contracting officers would find, well, they do not necessarily meet the criteria for a woman-owned business. So it could have been that someone owned let's say I own a business with my wife and we legally split the business 50-50. But she has control of the business and she's running the business on a day-to-day basis. And so we might have said, okay, well, this is a woman-owned business. But according to federal standards, it's not, because my wife does not own 51%. A 50-50 split does not qualify for designation as a woman-owned business. It would have to be 51% or greater. Now, if we had another woman involved and between them, the majority, maybe the two women own 30% each, That is fine as well, because the total of women-owned in a business is 60%. But they almost also have managerial control of business. I can't just have a business and say, well, it's women-owned because my wife calls the shots, and so I'm going to give her 51% of the business. But really, on a day-to-day basis, I'm running the business, I'm managing the employees, I'm making the financial decisions. That also would not qualify. So we found a lot of business owners that had been doing that, and so we changed. And so now, as of October 2020, all women-owned businesses must go through a certification process with SBA to prove that that is truly a women-owned business, that it is owned with the proper percentage, that person has control of that business, and it meets all of our requirements. That was primarily to save everyone a lot of time and contracting officers. So now they can go in, instead of clicking self-certified women-owned small business and then finding out later that doesn't qualify, they can say, I'm just going to look at the businesses that have already done their certification process with SBA and require an active certification. So that's another way to do it. You can click multiple of these. You don't have to click just one, but that's how you can narrow the field some. As I mentioned before, NAICS codes, the North American Industry Classification System, is codes that every business, when you're signing up in SAM, designate basically what do you do as a business. You can search for those fields here, and you can narrow your search. Perhaps also as a business, you're looking for, maybe you're already a partner in a business, or maybe you're already established as a government contractor, and a piece of a contract that you want to bid on, you're not that proficient in, or maybe the employee that was an expert in, maybe you're a construction, let's just stick with that example, a construction firm, and you're winning a contract, but part of that is painting of that building, and you've just lost your best painter and you don't have that anymore. You're having trouble finding one. So you can just look in that area and say, okay, who does painting? So you can pull up that NAICS code and say, great, I'm going to reach out to that person and see if they can help me on this contract. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be able to, because they're going to want to help you and receive money for it. And then it just helps have those partnerships out there. So here's how you can look up NAICS codes. If you don't know the NAICS codes, you can just type in the description there. I can type in painting, I could type in construction, landscaping, whatever it is, and that will help you narrow it down if you don't know the NAICS code, but you know what you need help with. You can narrow it by bonding levels. A lot of contracts don't, federal contractors aren't worried about bonding levels unless it is construction, then they're going to make sure that there are some bonding levels in there. And this is information about accepts government credit card, whether it's an exporter. Now, in this field right here, this is more specifically to look up a specific business. So sometimes contracting officers, after they've posted the position or posted the contract, and then they get their bids on the contract, they will want to look up specific businesses. So they may go in here and say, okay, I see this business with this DUNS number has applied. I'm going to look them up and look a little bit more information for them. Or sometimes they'll have businesses apply and they can't find them anywhere. And so they have trouble just locating them anywhere in SAM or see if they're a small business. So they may put that information here, because oftentimes they'll get contracting bids that they want to go to a small business, but they're not showing up in dynamic small business search. So that business will bid on it. They'll have their DUNS number, they'll have all that information, or they'll just have their trade name. And they'll say, well, let me look this up in a dynamic small business search to ensure that it is a small business, because we don't take everything from SAM. We only take businesses that are small businesses. So that's the only ones that populate this in here. So for instance, in SAM, you'll have also large businesses, but you also have any entity that receives federal funding. So the University of Virgin Islands, other nonprofits, and so forth will be in there. We filter those out here for them in this database. Look up their status. And then here's where you can edit the columns to be displayed. So right now, the default is just the name, contact information, address, where they are and their capabilities narrative. But you can edit this. So let's say I'm looking for more information on a business. Before I do my search, I want to know how to reach out to that business. So you can click any of these and say, well, I'm not interested in the address. I'm going to remove that, but I am interested in adding in someone's email. So I'll add their email, and let's see if they have their phone number. Well, I know it's in here somewhere. Dunn's number, contact code, phone number. So I can add phone number in there. I have trade name, but you can add all these other things in there. And so as you can see right here, it's added in there, phone number, email address. So I just click save, and now it's right here. So now next time I do the search, those will be in there for me. You can also switch your format. Of course, you can make the text larger or smaller if you want. But if you want to put this on an Excel spreadsheet and save this to your computer and not have to go to have an internet connection at the time, you can just import it as a Excel spreadsheet, and then you have it all there. I'm just, as an example, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to what we had before. Restrict it to the Virgin Islands just to keep the number manageable. And show with that search what comes up. Okay, so now I must have clicked something. So this happens a lot. So I must have clicked something that was additional that is restricting it. Construction. Let's click that. Not required, not required. Let me make sure. Okay, so everything's not required. Let me do this again and make sure I just didn't have clicked. Okay, so then it comes up. So now it's coming up with those 39. You can see capabilities, narratives are there, but now I have the email address. So now if I want to email, I forget what it was we were looking at. I think it was SF General Maintenance. They'll be probably on the next page. No, this is all 39 here. So I can get the email address and just reach out to this person if I didn't already know them. I know we're a pretty small entity here. For some reason, they're not coming up in this, but I might have clicked something separate that is separating them out right now. But you can just look up the firm, get their email address, get their phone number, and so forth. What I suggest, though, if you're getting this information for your use, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, click HTML import format, because sometimes, as you know here, just the internet will go out, or the internet may be working, or our dynamic small business search website is down for maintenance or something. And so you want it, when you want to access it, you can click it, and then that's just the data at that set of time, but at least you'll have it. And then if you want to update it, you can always go back in here and update it. So that's how you can use the dynamic small business search tool for your benefit as a small business, to research your competition, to know how you are being seen by federal contracting officers, and then improve that. This is not necessarily part of the presentation, so I'm going to show you just briefly. I'd mentioned I'm going to show you the site on how to look up contracts. That should be on the SAM site. Let's see. So unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with that. Let me go to SBO.gov. So FBO is a new site, and I guess it's just taking me directly to beta.sam.gov. Second. Okay. So here, I know there's a spot on this page where you can look up information on contracts. Entity reporting, contract data. Okay. Contract opportunities. Geez, first thing right there, I just wasn't paying attention. So here's how you can look up contracting opportunities. So if you are interested in not only knowing about your market, how you look to federal business owners, you do want to make sure you know how to look up contracting opportunities. So you can do it by all sorts of different ways, but I suggest using the advanced search here. That way you can filter it by location, the type of contract, the type of NAICS codes, keywords, all sorts of things. They're trying to consolidate this all under SAM, so you can do it all through there. But everyone should have some familiarity with SAM, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. The dynamic small business search is a separate tool that contracting officers use. So I just want to show you how to navigate to that, what it is, how it can be used to your benefit. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and open it up to any questions you may have out there.
Thank you very much, Wayne. That was some very good information. I do not see any questions in the chat. So while I wait for people to put their questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to ask your question online. I want to say that the SBDC has a lot more in store for US small businesses in the community. You can visit our website at www.visbdc.org. You can download the VISBDC app on your mobile device from the appropriate app store. And you can like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google My Business, and subscribe to VISBDC YouTube channel for new uploads on our webinars on demand. All right. Any questions? All right, well, let me give you a little bit more information. We have our upcoming webinars. Next week, we have Preparing for the Next Disaster at 11 o'clock with the SBA. And then on Thursday at 10 a.m., we have a customer service, the importance of soft skills in a USVI. So mark your calendars for those two events next week. And I see lots of people, but I don't. Oh, I have a question, Mr. Greg Kopach. Go ahead and ask your question, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you for all the good information, Wayne. Just wanted to let the group know on behalf of the SBDC that we have some resources right on the ground here that can assist with particularly the certifications, the hub zones, the veteran certifications. I know this is a little outside of the dynamic search, but as we went through those hub zone certifications, we noticed our most recent client that just got certified. So if anyone out there needs assistance on the process, whether that be a SAM registration or anything within the dynamic search, give us a shot at it at the SBDC. We work this stuff day in and day out, and so we are in fact getting some certifications up there. So we can be a good resource. Please get in touch with us if we can assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, and I appreciate the work y'all are doing out there. It helps.
Excellent, excellent. So again, Wayne, if a business is certified in the Virgin Islands as a hub zone or an 8A, they're not limited just to the territory for doing business. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, a hub zone, an 8A or hub zone firm that's headquartered here. The requirement for hub zone is that the headquarters is here in the Virgin Islands, so they can get that hub zone status. But if they can service a contract elsewhere, that certification goes with them, as long as they don't switch headquarters and move their whole business to a new place. But Yeah, we have businesses that have even moved to the Virgin Islands just to take advantage of the hub zone status, move their headquarters down here, employ people down here, and then it enables them to compete for contracts in software development around the country because they can do their work from anywhere. They can do it here.
Wow. That's really good information. And for small businesses, you could look like a really big business with your website. And, you know, once you prove yourself with jobs of certain sizes, because you have to show that capability, right, for the contracting officers.
Yep.
Right. Well, it looks like you're going to get an early lunch. I don't see any more hands. I see one person's trying to join in. We'll let them get in before. So in terms of registration, everybody should register in SAM in order to do the government contracting.
Yes.
Okay, but even if they're not, they can check on their competition in the dynamic business search.
Sure. Yep. Even if they're not, yeah, even if they're not interested in federal government contracting, they can, they will see their competition, but only their competition that has registered in SAM, which, you know, several years ago, there wasn't that many businesses. I think the total number of businesses registered in SAM years ago was a little over a couple of hundred, but now it's close to 700 because the territorial property and procurement division several years ago made a requirement that if you are going to compete for a contract with the territorial government, at least in the property and procurement division, you must be registered in SAM, which is smart by them because we've been encouraging them to do that for a while, because then all of a sudden they have a database that they can use, just like which is the dynamic small business search. It's open to them as well. And so that's just an easy way for them to manage and track their businesses. So a lot more businesses are now registered in there from the Virgin Islands.
And it's a really good thing to update your capability statement. It makes it easier for the contracting officers to try and narrow down to specific groups, women-owned, veteran-owned type businesses. If you have the capability statement, they know you can, at least hopefully you can do the work based on what you said in that statement.
Right.
Okay, last call for questions. You can raise your hand or you can put your question in the chat. Okay, on behalf of the State Director of the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, I want to thank you, Wayne, for making this presentation. And we look forward to seeing folks next week as we do the preparing for the next disaster and the importance of soft skills in the USVI. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great week.
Thank you.